So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Today we welcome you back here at BSN Arc. This is the BSN Arc podcast here today. It is Tuesday, September 15th. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. I know I did. Hopefully you did and are having a good day so far today. Week 1 of the NFL season is officially in the books. It is done. Week 1 is completed with the final 2 Monday night games yesterday. We'll be talking all about that coming right up today. 2 very good games. Steelers-Giants was closer than I thought. Titans-Broncos, I had it being a pretty close game to begin with. So that game didn't really surprise me at all. Although the fact that Steven Gostkowski missed 4 kicks and then it went 0 for 4. And then on the final field goal of the game, drills it right through the uprights and wins. Went 1 for 5, I think, for kicks. When that was absolutely horrible. But I guess what it all comes down to is he did nail the game winner, and I guess that's what it all comes down to at the end of the day. He nailed the game winner, but still, the Titans have to make sure that that's not going to be every game, because every game you're not going to get a chance to, the Broncos, they missed 4 field goals, people. The Broncos, the amount of times they had the chance to capitalize on that, he missed 4 field goals, okay? So let's just put that in perspective. So they had 16 points. Let's just say he drills those 4. He had 5 field goals. Let's just say he made all 5 of them. 16 points. Okay, he got 16. So there's 16, right? He made the 1. So that's 1. So then 19, 22 would have been like 24 to like 14. They would have been up like 10 if he would have made all of them. So that game got interesting. We'll talk about that. Jerry Jeudy looked amazing. Giants, Steelers. Good game. Giants pleasantly surprised me, and I'll tell you why coming up. We got the Monday night games results/Giants, and I'll give you my fantasy outcomes for the whole week. And I'll tell you what I did in one league, what I did in the other league. Monday night games were good. We'll talk about that. Then coming up next, Steve Cohen buys the New York Mets. The New York Mets have sold. The Wilpons have sold. Jeff Wilpon has said, I'm not owning the team anymore. Sold it. Steve Cohen is now the new owner of the New York Mets. I will tell you why that is a good decision in a little bit. And how that could actually impact the Yankees a little bit. Then we have the Yankees, Mets, and the Islanders to cap off the end of the show. Yankees play today. They open up a big series against the Toronto Blue Jays, 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. Huge game. Could decide whether they get second place, decide whether they could possibly get first still. Huge game. Blue Jays, Yankees. Yankees are on a roll. Hopefully we can keep it up tonight. I'll preview that game later on. Mets and Islanders also play today. I'm pretty sure the Islanders play today. Islanders are 1 game away from elimination. So if they somehow win 3 straight, they will face the Dallas Stars in the Stanley Cup. If the Lightning win tonight, your Stanley Cup is the Dallas Stars versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. But the Islanders, they still got to get through the Islanders. 1 more win for the Lightning. Islanders got to come back from down 3-1. Win 3 straight here. Should be very interesting to see what happens. So, anyway, so let's get into it. So this is the BSN Arc podcast, and let's get into it. So let me tell you this. I'm going to tell you straight up. Week 1 was a success. Week 1 was a success for the NFL. That's what I'm going to say. I could literally keep it at that and end it. Week 1 was a success. There's really no other thing out of it, right? The games look good. And I know I've said this multiple times. I said it yesterday at least 6-7 times. The games look good. The sound was good. I mean, the sound wasn't anything special. I would say some of the games had better sound than the others. I also think that's just how whoever's broadcasting the game, whether it's CBS, Fox, or ESPN, or NBC, I think some games sounded better than others. But, some games I felt like I was watching a real football game that had fans. It was a real football game. I don't know what I'm saying. But, that actually had real fans. It was good. Overall, I think week 1 was a success. I think the NFL nailed it. I think the NFL, the protocols were in place. I mean, you really couldn't tell that they were playing besides the fans. If you see what's on the field, like you watch the game, right? Let's just say you watch the game, right? you're watching the game. If the coaches are not in the picture, which they usually aren't when you're watching the game because they have like that 50-yard line view. If the coaches aren't in the picture, and neither are the seats, you have no clue you're watching. Besides the sound, because the sound you could tell you're not watching, a game with fans. You really can't tell that you're not playing during a global pandemic. And I'll tell you why. Even with the NHL, now you can because all the seats are tarped off. But the angle at the NFL camera, sometimes you don't even see the seats or the coaches. You just see the play. They go straight on down. You could just see the play. When you're watching the game just like that, you don't even know you're playing during a virus. You have no clue. The players, I think I saw one player out of the whole NFL wear a mask while he was playing, which I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying I've only saw one player. There could have been more, but the games that I saw, the highlights that I saw, the games that I watched, I only saw one player, and I forget who it was. I think it might have been on. I want to say it was on. I don't know what team it was on. I don't know. I just remember seeing a player with like a white, like one of those pull-up masks that I see. You saw it under his helmet. That's all I can remember. But other than that, you really couldn't tell. Now, you might say, oh, well, with the NBA, you can't tell NHL. Yes, you can. You could tell with the NHL. If you blindfolded yourself and heard the NHL games, you wouldn't be able to tell because the NHL, let me tell you something, it sounds just like an NHL. I think the NHL sounds the best out of all the sports coming back. Baseball, you could tell. Some players have masks on while they're playing. NHL, they don't, but some players have masks on. Coaches don't have masks on in the NFL, in the NHL games either, the NBA, the training staff does. But if you follow what I'm saying, right, the NFL, they don't. The NFL, they do, but the NHL doesn't. The MLB does. Some players wear masks while they're up at bat, so you could really say, like for example, Clint Frazier on the Yankees, you could tell they're playing during virus. He's got a mask on, right? As for NFL players, you don't see many with them in masks. So the NFL, I'm going to tell you this. The NFL looked good. Sounded good, looked good, felt good to see NFL back on TV. So, with all that being said, I give NFL a big, big, big A. I think the A+, maybe I'm holding back just because I think the noise, they could maybe be a little bit better, but I give it an A. I think overall, you're playing during a virus. What can you expect? It's kind of tough to sometimes dodge some of the things that come your way. The NFL looks good. So that is kind of just what I wanted to see as I sum up week 1 here on this Tuesday, September 15th. That's kind of what I just want to say. NFL looks good. Now we actually get into the actual performances of last night. We will start with the New York Giants and the Pittsburgh Steelers since that was the first game that obviously was on last night, and also New York local team Giants. I'm also going to start next week on Monday when I talk about the Jets and stuff. I'm probably going to start talking with the Jets first because I noticed it took me a good 30 minutes to get through the whole teams, and I only had like 5 minutes to rant about the Jets, so I'm going to probably start with the Jets. So for now on, I'll probably start with the Jets and the Giants to start off. But anyway, if you follow what I'm saying, here we go. So, the New York Giants and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I got this pick correct. I'm going to tell you what. I went 10-6 on my game picks. If you're just to give you a sum up of the full week 1. Yesterday was all the Sunday games. Today's the full sum up of week 1. I'm going to tell you straight up, I did pretty well. I think. I did 10-6 for my game picks. Nothing special. I finished above 500. I told you guys yesterday there was 3 options for me. It was either I finished 9-7, 8-8, or 10-6, because I was 8-6 going into yesterday. It's either I lose both games, win one, lose one, win both. There was only 3 options for me, or lose both, and that would have sat me at 500. So there was 3 options: 10-6, 8-8, 9-7. I said coming out of yesterday's show, I hope I'm 10-6. I finished 10-6. So I finished 4 games above 4 picks, whatever you want to say it, above 500 for my week 1 picks, which isn't horrible. I could have very well finished 13 and 3, 12-4, maybe 11-5, if in fact some of these teams like the Lions would have, DeAndre Swift would have caught that ball, or if the Eagles would have hung on to the 17-0 lead. Here and there, I probably could have very well finished 12-4. But for all in all, the first week first week picks are usually the hardest because you kind of just go off of what you saw last season. That's what I do anyway, really. It's slightly what you see in training camp because they haven't played one game this season. You can't even go off of what you saw preseason, because there was no preseason. So usually week one's a hard trick. This week, on the other hand, you get to see what teams did week one, so you could be like, okay, this team's going to win, this team's going to win, whatever. But I'll tell you what, yesterday, I thought my picks were down secure, and they were. I got them correct, but the Steelers and the Giants game was relatively close the whole game. And you know how much I come on this show and I bash the Giants all the time. I say how bad they are. I say how bad they are all the time. If I can find anything to tweak about the Giants, I will. Believe me. I bash them all the time on this show. Just giving you a heads up. Them and the Jets, I will bash all the time. They're two bad teams, in my opinion. I'm not considering the Giants a good team because of what I'm about to say. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think the Giants played all that bad yesterday. I know you might be like, oh, Daniel Jones in the 2 picks. Saquon Barkley had a horrible game. I know you could make some of those arguments, make some of those things, but all in all, I think the Giants played a pretty good football game. If you would have saw my game pick yesterday, I predicted the Steelers to win 35-17. I thought this game was going to be an absolute blowout. I thought with the Steelers, Juju Smith-Schuster, 2 touchdowns, Roethlisberger, I thought with the Steelers, they came out rusty. The Steelers came out rusty, and the Giants took over early. Here's the one problem I have with the Giants, right? The Giants had multiple chances yesterday to convert. They drove down the field quickly on their first drive, get a field goal. Daniel Jones throws an interception. Drive all the way down, have an interception in the red zone. That's the last thing you want. That is the absolute last thing you want. Get all the way down the field, throw an interception. That is the the very last thing you want, besides maybe losing the game, is when you drive 60 yards, 70 yards, even 80 yards down the field, and then you intercept it in the red zone. In the red zone. That's horrible. It is one of the worst feelings as a quarterback, probably, and as a fan, it is one of the worst feelings. You get all the way down the field, you have a good drive going, especially with the Giants. There was a lot of times where they just weren't able to get consistent drives going. They finally got a consistent drive going, then it resulted in a turnover. That kind of sealed the deal for the New York Giants there. I am pleasantly surprised on how the Giants defense played yesterday. I said 35-17. I took the over on this one. It was, I think, the under, or I don't know if it was the under. I'm not 100% sure. I took the over on this one. I thought for sure going into yesterday's game, I did not think there was any chance the Giants were going to win. Okay, and I know you might say, oh, Roethlisberger coming back, and Roethlisberger wasn't great. He wasn't great. He was he had a couple good throws to Juju here and there. Juju had 2 touchdowns, but he wasn't great. He wasn't anything special. He didn't blow me out of the water. He wasn't amazing. His first 2 drives, his first 3 possessions for the Steelers were ugly. You're talking pressured every play. You're talking, DeCastro was a bad miss. You could tell DeCastro, he was out yesterday with an injury on the Steelers. He's probably one of their best offensive linemen. Even the broadcasters were saying it. They missed him early on in that game. They were applying a lot of pressure. Leonard Williams looked good. There was a lot of good play. The Giants, there was a lot of positive things to come out of this game. Now, they lost, and that's the fact that we're all talking about, right? A loss is a loss. You could blab all you want about, oh, we played good in this category, we played good in this category, we played bad in this category. We did good, we just couldn't come out. A loss is a loss. You could nail every single category and lose on a game-winning field goal. A loss is a loss. It goes down the same way in the playbook as an L. It's not an L with, oh, played okay. An L with a plus, or an L plus. An L plus plus, or an L and a negative, or a minus sign, or whatever. It's an L. Everything goes down as a loss or a win. A win's a win, a loss is a loss. That's where I'm trying to get to, though. Giants played pretty well, but they did lose. Some of the positives I'm going to tell you with the Giants. Darius Slayton was a positive. Daniel Jones, I'm going to say, was a negative yesterday. I don't think he played all that good. I think he had a couple good throws. The 2 to Slayton. He had a very nice throw to Slayton early on in the game, which was their first score of the game. Very nice throw. Split the 2 defenders. Slayton had a nice catch. Very good throw. Late game mistakes costed the Giants, and those late game mistakes were by Daniel Jones. The interception in the red zone. There was a couple times there was open receivers that Jones missed. Not talking wide open, but catchable balls that probably would have gotten caught. I also think Saquon Barkley was a negative yesterday. You're talking about probably your best offensive player, I think, only got you 14 yards. It's tough to win when your best offensive player gets you 14 rushing yards. Saquon Barkley didn't play well. That also does bring up a fact that the Giants did still score 16 points and still had him in that game, even though Barkley played as bad as he did. Barkley played horrible. Barkley had 15 rushes for 6 yards. Right? 6 yards. His longest run of the game was 7 yards. Okay, Daniel Jones had more yards than Saquon Barkley, right? So, that's what I'm trying to say is they did not play. Saquon Barkley played bad, but yet the Giants still stuck around in this game. A positive was that whole Giants defense. The Giants defense was a positive. Giants defense was. Their defense was a positive against a offense that's very good, an offense that's pretty good, and a defense that's very bad. Giants defense performed well. Secondary made some mistakes late. But all in all, I think the Giants defense played well. So I'm going to leave it at that. I think the Giants defense played well. Their offense, I'm going to give you this. I think their offense was okay. I was texting somebody last night during the game like I usually do with the games. I kind of review them and stuff. I'm going to sit here and tell you this. Their offense wasn't anything special. I told him this. It's tough to win when you can only put up 16 points. I kind of told him that. It's tough to win when you can only put up 16 points. It really is. I mean, it really is. Putting up 16 points is not very easy to win because guess what? That means your defense cannot. I mean, the defense didn't let up that many points. I mean, they only let up 26 points. When you score 16 points, it's not a very quality performance. All in all, I give the Giants a C plus B for this game. C plus. I'll give them a C plus. I give the Jets an F. Give the Giants a C plus. Here's what's holding me back from giving a B. Turnovers late hurt them. The Daniel Jones 2 interceptions, the fumble that was resulted in Juju Smith-Schuster getting a recovery, which could be considered a missed call. And you can't blame the game on the refs though. He was out of bounds, dove in bounds, grabbed the ball. Technically, I personally don't think he maintained in bounds. I was trying for a little bit of a pause there. I was trying to think of a word to say, a way to word it. I personally don't think he maintained in bounds. They say that you have to maintain in bounds for a certain amount of time, and if you do, then you do this, right? But overall, I'm going to give this to the Giants. I think they played decent football. I think mistakes hurt them, turnovers hurt them, and all in all, I think the Giants, if they continue to play this way, I think the Giants could be 6-10 if they continue to play this way. You also got to realize you're playing like this way against a team in the Steelers. That it is a very good team. You're talking about a top 10 defense. So, you're talking about a team in the Steelers that's a top 10 defense and just a top 10 team overall. So, pretty good game for the New York Giants. And like I said, I think that, the New York Giants, there was things to learn. There was definitely some positives. There was definitely some positives for the New York Giants. There was also definitely some negatives for the New York Giants. And I also think there was definitely some things that the Giants could have done better. There's also some things that they did pretty good. Slade looked good. Barkley looked horrible. That's another promising sign, though. I know this might sound outrageous to Giants fans, but the Giants offense didn't play horrible, and Barkley had a horrible game. They played It wasn't horrible, but it was So Giants lose, but they lose by 10, but they did not play that bad. Now we move on to the Steelers. Steelers played well. I mean, their defense was good. Their Giants offense wasn't amazing, like I kind of just said. Offense was choppy early, but they got the job done. This was definitely not the Steelers' best performance, and if it was, then this is not a playoff team. This is probably the Steelers, this is like a Steelers, almost like a mediocre performance. This is like a solid performance. It got you a dub, but, you can't really play this way every week of this season. So, I give the Steelers, and I think the Steelers played decent. I think the Steelers played pretty well. They got the job done, and that's all I got. So the Steelers win 26-16. New York Giants fall to 0-1 in the season, and the Pittsburgh Steelers fall to 0-1. So New York teams, the Giants and the Jets, that New York teams are 0-2. Technically, if you're including all the New York teams, technically Buffalo Bills 1-2. But Jets and the Giants combined are 0-2 early here, so... But it is what it is. I mean, we're not expecting anything special this season anyway. So, now we move on to the Titans-Broncos games. This game, on the other hand, was sloppy in the Tennessee's favor. Tennessee had 4 field goals that was missed. Stephen Gostkowski, the old kicker for the New England Patriots, had 4 missed kicks yesterday. 4 missed field goals. Very difficult to get 4 missed field goals. And then come out there and drill another one. And then drill one more. Difficult. He played horrible. Steven Gostkowski did not have a good game. Titans played a little bit of sloppiness. Jadeveon Clowney had a good game. I kind of want him to have a good game to prove to all these teams that Jadeveon Clowney should get paid that amount of money. Jadeveon Clowney is top dollar player, and a lot of these teams are like, oh, no. Well, guess what? The Titans got him, and guess who benefit from it? The Tennessee Titans. Titans played well. The Denver Broncos, too, they played very well. Jadeveon Clowney had 1 assist. He had a couple nice plays, couple nice pressures on the defense. He had 2 solo tackles. Nice job. They said he had a sack, but on this stat sheet, it doesn't show he had a sack. And as for the Broncos, Drew Lock was solid. He missed 11 passes, 66.7. Philip Lindsay left the second half with an injury. Drew Lock looked pretty good. I'll tell you what, Jerry Jeudy looked amazing. 4 receptions for 56 yards, 14 average. And I know that might be like, oh, that's not amazing. Well, you look at some of the plays he made, look at some of the juke moves he made. This kid's got a bright future. Jerry Jeudy's got a bright future ahead of him. Played well. Jerry Jeudy played very, very well. Looked good. And overall, I think this Broncos team played very well. It just came down late. Weren't able to connect late. Weren't able to get the win late. Tough luck for the Broncos. But they lost. And, at the end of the day, a loss is a loss, too. You could be like, oh, well, we had this, and this going for us, but we lost. A loss is a loss. The Broncos lose as they move to 0-1 in the season, and the Titans move to 1-0. Titans a surprisingly good team here. So, week 2 is now 2 days away as the Thursday night game between the Browns and the Bengals kick off to week 2. That is what I got for week 1. Now, let me just tell you my fantasy results. I did win in the league. You probably know this already. Not that you maybe know it, but it's kind of obvious. I did say all I need Roethlisberger to do is pretty much throw 1 touchdown. Juju, he did just that, except 2 times. So I did, in fact, win in my one fantasy league, lost in my other league. So my other league I lost. This league I won. My one league I won in. I won 1. Let's see. I won 154.86 to 129.2. So I won 154 to 129. I thought my team played very, very well. Roethlisberger 28 points, Elliott 24, Chris Carson 18, Devontae Adams 27, Juju 18, Kittle 5, Gurley 11. Buffalo defense 10, Harrison Butker 10. We dominated. My team dominated this week. 154 points, the most in my fantasy league. The closest 141. So most in my fantasy league for week 1. Very, very, very happy about that. Week 2, I'm projected 107 already. Still got some changes to make though. I've got my lineup set, but I've still got some changes to make. It really all depends. I guess too. It really all depends. Wow, this is real. This is really weird. So I won, and I scored the most points on my fantasy team in the fantasy league, and I dropped back a spot in the power rankings. Now I'm projected to finish 3rd. And the person I beat is now projected to finish 4th. Very odd. I have the most points. So... if I can keep that up, that would be good. And in my other league, I lost, but, that is what it is. In my other league, I lost, but I knew I was going to lose, especially when Barkley did absolutely nothing. I told you guys yesterday on the air, I think I was joking around. I need Barkley to give me a solid 80 points. I lost 129 to 89 in that league. My other league, not looking great for me either. As a matter of fact, this league, I still got to make a change here, taking him out. T.Y. Hilton struggled, but I don't know. I might keep him in. I don't know. Keenan Allen's not projected many points either. Neither is Steelers' defense. What's my other defense? Broncos? No. Deshaun Watson versus Baltimore? What do I do here, people? I don't know. I'm going to have to look this over. Do I do Deshaun Watson versus Baltimore or Drew Brees versus Vegas? Deshaun Watson versus Baltimore. That's tough. Well, Baltimore's secondary isn't the strength of that team. It's that up front, I think. Their secondary is good, but I wouldn't so much say it's the strength of that team. It's good, but I don't know if it's so much the strength. But yeah, so my other league I lost in. This league I lost in. My other league I won in. So At the moment, this league, let's see, final standings projections. I'm projected to finish 4th now. No, that's not correct. I'm projected to finish 2nd. So I was supposed to, actually, hold on, I'm a little confused here. So there's so many different... Okay, I was supposed to finish 1st, now I'm supposed to finish 2nd. Okay, so I was supposed to finish 1st, now I'm supposed to finish 2nd. So I'm not too happy with, I'm not too mad with that. I am in 3rd place, or 2nd place right now. We do 8, this is an 8-person league. This is actually a big game for me this week, because I play another opponent right now that's is about even with me, so this is actually a big game. If I can't fall 0-2. 0-2 in fantasy is pretty bad. You fall behind 0-2 in fantasy, it isn't very good. But anyway, so that's what I got for week 1. Week 1 was a huge success for the NFL, in my opinion. We'll see what all these testing results and all that come out to be in just a couple of days. I mean, even like I said, they get tested every single day except game days. So obviously, the Jets, for example, they played Sunday. They've obviously got tested today and yesterday, and they have no positive cases yet, or else you would have heard something about it. So overall, looking pretty good for the NFL. And yeah, now we move on to some baseball news. I know. I needed to get this in. I was actually happy this happened, because I was going to talk about baseball, but I was like, I also got to talk about football and stuff. I'm actually happy this happened, because I've talked a ton of football. This time of year, I talk a ton of football and baseball. Baseball and football this time of year is usually huge for me, because usually baseball is just in the playoffs, and football's, October, November, that's when football's in full spring, and October is when baseball's in the World Series and stuff, and in the World Series, and, that's when it's in the prime of the playoffs, and football's in the prime of its season. So next month or so, you'll see a ton of football and baseball on this podcast. NHL and basketball, I'll talk about, so if the Islanders fall out, I'll still talk about the Stanley Cup and stuff, but, my favorite teams are out of both of those leagues, so it kind of stinks a little bit there. But, anyway, so we have some news to break coming up right up next about the New York Mets getting a new owner. Whoops. Alrighty, so the New York Mets have gone a new owner. Steve Cohen agrees to buy Mets and reportedly in deal reportedly worth record $2.4 billion. $2.4 billion. Okay, first off, and I've always said this, as a sports fan, I don't know half the time where these owners get this money. $2.4 billion. Big money. So the Mets get a new owner. So if you don't know what this story has been around for a pretty long time now. The Mets have been looking for a new owner for a pretty long time, as they have been looking for an owner for a long time. I mean, Jeff Wilpon said that he was going to sell the team, I think, last season, or so. And the Mets have been kind of looking for a new owner for a while now. There was a lot of bids. There was Travis Kelce was involved. He was a football player for the Kansas City Chiefs. He said that he would buy the team. Obviously then Mahomes a couple weeks later decided to buy a part of the Royals team. Steve Cohen I think it's just Steve Cohen. Sometimes it's two people that split the team. It's this person and this person, or even a commissioner of the league. It's this person and this person. They're splitting it. But Steve Cohen agrees to buy the New York Mets in a deal reportedly worth record $2.4 billion. So New York sports teams, if you do not know, they cost a lot. They are. Yankees are a big franchise. To kind of get into the numbers a little bit, Mets are expensive franchise. Yankees, Cowboys, Lakers, Knicks are very expensive. I know there's some soccer teams out there. I'm pretty sure Barcelona's up there. I think Juventus is up there. I think there's definitely some expensive soccer teams as well. I'm not a soccer fan. There's some expensive teams. But I know the Cowboys are very expensive. I know the Knicks, the Lakers, the Mets, the Yankees, your teams like that are expensive. And if you notice, the teams that are expensive, it's usually also the teams' tickets that are very expensive. Like the Yankees, for example, they're a big name franchise. They're a very, very big franchise. To get third baseline seats there, it's like $400. To get behind the plate, it's a lot. So even to get up in the nosebleeds, the upper deck, it's still like $80 to $100 sometimes. That's how much it is just to get all the way up there. Those are actually they're not bad seats, but it's just expensive to get all the way up there. So as for some stadiums, you could sit on the third baseline for $50. Maybe behind the plate's $150, $200. All right, it's pretty crazy. But the Mets are an expensive team. So Steve Cohen buys the Mets. Now, I don't know too much about this whole Steve Cohen dude. All I know is he's an American businessman. He's a billionaire. Got big money. I know him. I've known him for a couple months now since he kind of entered the bidding war for the need to buy the New York Mets. I know that A-Rod was involved. Kelsey was involved. There was a couple players. There was a couple other people that were involved. A-Rod was involved. I thought for sure A-Rod was going to get it, especially for a while there. I thought for sure A-Rod was going to get it. So this is like a confirmed he buys the Mets, but I think 23 owners have to approve of this. I don't know why they wouldn't approve of it. But I'm pretty sure that the New York Mets have gotten a good owner. Now, for example, Derek Jeter. Like, Derek Jeter got the Marlins and stuff, right? If you could be an owner of a team and not have to know nothing. Like, you have to have some sort of knowledge about the sport. But if you follow what I'm saying, like a football player, for example, Mahomes owning the Royals, you could be the owner of a team and not have to really be, you could be the owner of a team and not know too much about the sport, right? Sometimes the owner is just that kind of big dude. But Steve Cohen, from what I've heard, and I think this is actually a good move for the New York Mets, I think Steve Cohen's going to do a couple things when he gets to this New York Mets team. I think he's going to spend money, meaning, if you follow what I'm saying, I think he's going to spend money. Now, that might sound stupid, like who's not going to spend money? Meaning, I think he's going to spend money on players. I think he's going to get the right players. I think he's going to make the right decisions. And I do truly believe that he's going to get a new GM, going to spend some good money, going to get a new head coach, and kind of going to take this franchise and kind of really strip it down and bring in everybody new. He's going to bring in a new GM, probably a brand new coach. That new coach will bring in a brand new coaching staff. He's probably going to get rid of a lot of players. He's probably going to kind of start fresh. He'll probably keep McNeil, Conforto, and Alonso as his base. Get rid of a lot of these other players. DeGrom, obviously, he'll still keep. Get rid of these other high contract guys, even just some of these players that just aren't very good. He'll keep some of those like 3 players as his base, completely strip it down and get ready for the future. I think that's what he do. And meaning what's good about that is I think he could very well take a quick rebuild because I think he's going to spend money. I think he's going to spend money. I think he's going to hire a good GM that's going to hire a good coach that's going to hire a good coaching staff. And meaning with the spend money aspect of it is he's going to go out for those top dollar players, I think. The Mets have not really been a team these whole years to really go out for the Garrett Coles, out for the Giancarlo Stantons. They've not been able to go out for the top dollar players. If you see the players on their team, none of them are huge contracts. Behind DeGrom, they're a bunch of contract guys that are very good. McNeil, not a huge contract. Alonso, these guys are on rookie deals, but you follow what I'm saying. Even like a guy like a Todd Frazier, his contract's nothing huge, and he's been in the league for a long time, right? The Mets don't spend much money. I think Steve Cohen will, and that's actually big, because usually the bigger money guys are the better players. Garrett Cole, one of the best pitchers in the league, big money dude, right? Stanton, when he's on, could be one of the best hitters in the league, big money guy. Scherzer, one of the best pitchers in the league, big money guy. DeGrom, one of the best pitchers in the league, if not, in my opinion, the best pitcher in the league, big money guy, right? He's going to get those big money players in. He's going to spend his money wisely. I think sometimes Wilpon and this Mets organization did not do that while he was here. I don't think Wilpon, in my opinion, was not very good. I think Steve Cohen will do much better than what Wilpon did. And I think that's just kind of obvious. I think Wilpon will be much better than I think Stephen Cohen will be much better than what Wilpon did. I think he's gonna have more knowledge. I think he's gonna be overall better at what he does. I think he's going to spend money wisely more. I think he's going to make better decisions. I think he's going to get better players, going to get better coaches, going to get rid of this whole horrific GM that they have in Brody Wagenen. He's horrible. Got to be one of the worst GMs in the MLB. He's probably going to get rid of him, Bring in a new GM, bring in almost a new culture, almost what Joe Douglas wants to do to the New York Jets. Bring in a new culture, bring in a new team, get new players, spend some money, get a good GM, get a good head coach, get a good front office going, get an overall solid base. Then you can start building, and that's how you get to that ultimate goal of everyone's, and that is hoisting up the World Series championship trophy. So, the commissioner, Steve Cohen agrees to buy the Mets, and a deal reportedly worth record $2.4 billion. So let's read it. Steve Cohen reached an agreement to purchase the New York Mets from majority owner Fred Wilpon and his family. Pending approval from Major League Baseball, the team announced Monday. New York Mets Sterling Partners sign agreement with Steve Cohen. MLB Network's John Heyman first responded to news. Tim Haley of Newsday noted Cohen will own 95% of the franchise, with the deal valuing the club at approximately $2.47 billion. Joel Sherman of the New York Post added the $2.4 billion sale would set a record for North American sports. Heard the Mets sold for more than $2.35 billion. That has been reported. It has been between $2.4 billion and $2.45 billion. The previous record for North American sports teams was $2.275 billion that the Panthers were sold for another hedge fund billionaire, David Tepper. In February, the Wilpon family and Cohen, billionaire hedge fund manager, were on the verge of the sale that would have the value in the team at $2.6 billion, but it fell through because of the side's inability to agree on Wilpon's continued involvement of the franchise after the sale, per ESPN. The report noted Cohen and the Mets' limited partner would have become the club's controlling owner with an 80% stake in the transaction had become official. I'm very disappointed we couldn't work out a deal, but as 8% holder, I'm looking forward to a higher bid for the team, Cohen said in a statement at the time. I gave it my best shot. That was at that time. Now, it's much different. Questions we raised about whether the MLB organization would still seek a sale amid the coronavirus pandemic, which caused concerns about the amount the team could command in difficult financial times. The Mets pushed forward in the sale process, and others emerged as potential buyers, including one that featured former MLB superstar Alex Rodriguez and his wife, singer and actress Jennifer Lopez. When Rodriguez and Lopez fell out of the favor in the bidding process, it brought Cohen, with who Forbes estimates the $14.6 billion net worth, back to the forefront of talks. He'll take over the Mets as one of the richest owners in all sports, and he'll be expected to inject some of the capital into turning the club back into a championship contender. New York has just two World Series titles in its 58-year history, and the most recent coming in 1986. The other was in 1969. The club's last MLB championship series in 2015, but fell in 5 games to the Kansas City Royals. The deal would become final once ratified by at least 23 of the league's 30 owners, per Heyman. The vote will take place in November. So, Steve Cohen buys the New York Mets. Good move. And this is kind of what you saw in the article. He needs to turn his franchise around. This franchise right now is at a low. They haven't won many World Series championships. They haven't been able to get back to the playoffs since that really run in 2015 and 2016. This is their time now to get Cohen, who's a pretty good guy. I think he's going to come in. Like I said, I don't think he knows too much about baseball, but he knows how to spend his money wisely. I think that's what he's going to do with the Mets. He's going to go out, get some big money guys, get some stars on this team, get a good GM, get a good head coach. That head coach will get a good coaching staff. That GM will get a good coach. It will all come, right? First off, you start with the owner. Then the owner gets the GM. Then the GM gets the coach. Then the coach gets a good coaching staff. Then the GM and the whole franchise decides on getting the good players. Then the good players go out there and perform. And then all of a sudden, it all comes back, right? It's like connect the dots. And then all of a sudden, the good players perform. It's like a chain reaction. Owner hires GM. Then GM hires coach. Then coach hires the Then coach hires the coaching staff. Then the organization as a whole gets the players. They get some good players. They get some, stars. Then the stars perform well. You make the postseason. You win a couple postseason games. Then you hoist up the trophy. That's obviously every team's whole goal. It's like a chain reaction. It's just how it is. It's the step-by-step of how to run a great franchise in American sports. I know how to do it. I don't know how to do it, but my favorite team does, and in the New York Yankees, 25 more World Series than the New York Mets. We have 27 World Series championships. Most of any MLB team in all the MLB. We're going for 28 this season. Should be a lot of fun. But yeah, I think it's a good move. I don't compliment the Mets too much. This is a different day, man. Very rarely do I compliment the Giants. Very rarely do I compliment the Mets. I wasn't really complimenting the Giants because I think that's truth yesterday. I think that was kind of true. The Giants didn't play that bad. They didn't play good, but they didn't play bad. They played So, Steve Cohen buys the New York Mets. I think he's going to do a lot with this team. I think he's going to do a lot more with Wilpon than what Wilpon did. And that's what's big. That's what they really want. All in all, as an owner, you want a guy that's going to be a good decision maker, a guy that's going to spend money wisely. The money is a big part of it. You don't spend your money wisely, you should sell. You spend your money wisely, you get some good players with that money of yours, good, you'll make a perfect owner. So, Steve Cohen agrees to buy the New York Mets. Big money, $2.4 billion. I have no clue where these people get this money. It's crazy, man. It really is crazy. And people say athletes are overpaid. And, I don't like to get into all that. I don't like to really get into the whole athletes and the overpaid thing. Just because a lot of people have their different opinions on it. I personally don't think athletes are overpaid, but I think I could stand for both sides of it. I'm not a big fan of getting into that whole chat about it. But I just don't get where these people get this money. It's like laughable how much money these people have. It's crazy. But yeah, congrats, buys the New York Mets. So the Yankees, by the way, there was an MLB plan. We're going on to the Yankees games now, previewing these games today. The MLB plan got released for the bubble. There will be like a postseason bubble. I think one's in California, one's in Texas. I'm pretty sure. So there will be a postseason bubble. So pretty much the Yankees will not be playing in Yankee Stadium. They said that they hope to get fans in for the World Series, which would be at Texas Rangers, the new Globe Life Field. So, don't know how many fans are going to get at that. First off, you don't know how many fans are going to be there because it's in Globe Life Field. The whole traveling thing with the whole virus. You don't know how many fans, like, for example, let's just say a team like the Yankees win. They're in New York. A lot of their fans are, near that area. It's kind of tough to travel all the way there. I mean, it's not bad to travel. But if you follow what I'm saying. With the whole virus thing going around, and the whole traveling aspect, it could get interesting. But I would hope to see fans in the World Series. I would love to see that. It would be a lot of fun. But they are doing a bubble. So the Yankees play today home against the Toronto Blue Jays. Actually, let me see. So they start up a 3-game set against the Toronto Blue Jays. So this is the Yankees. Okay, no, never mind. So the Yankees played the 3-game set against the Blue Jays today, or this week. And then the Red Sox, they play a 3-game set against the Red Sox on the road. Then they play a 3-game set a 4-game set against the Blue Jays. They're on the road. Then they wrap up their season with a 3-game set against the Marlins, and they're at home. And then their season's over. And then you got yourself playoff baseball, which will not be held at Yankee Stadium. So, this is their second to last home series. Their last home series is after the Blue Jays and the Red Sox 4-game set, and then this series, obviously. So, start a 3-game setup today against the Toronto Blue Jays at home. I give the Yankees the win today. We've been dominating ever since those tough times where we just couldn't come around on the ball, couldn't do anything. We've been dominating. I give us the win today. The momentum continues. We win today, 26-21 on the season. I think we get the win today. Should be a lot of fun to watch. Now we move on to the New York Mets. Did not mean to press that. Mets play today, 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time against the Phillies. I give the Phillies the win. The Phillies are still on the brink of making the playoffs. Still have a chance. These games are big for them. They're sitting at 500 at 23-23. The Mets are 21-26. So it's big for the Mets to get this win today. The Mets, they're not really going to probably make the playoffs, but I think there's still a slim chance if they win like the rest of their games. So the Mets need a win, but I give the Phillies the win. As the Phillies are really on the brink of possibly making the playoffs. Get a couple wins here and there, they could possibly be in the playoffs. Islanders play today. I will give the Islanders the win. I give the Islanders the win every time. I just give them a win because, to be honest, I think this is. I personally have always believed that the Islanders is. I think this is always. I mean, the Islanders play tonight, right? And this is kind of the big thing. Here's what the Islanders, right? They've struggled this whole series. The Islanders have not played their best hockey this whole series. I mean, they were dominating through the first two series, and then all of a sudden they ran into this series, and it's almost like what happened to them? They haven't been playing well, but I just give them the wins. Here's my thing with the Islanders. Here's my thing with the Islanders, right? You need to get out to a fast start. Matthew Barzal, players like that. Matt Martin, players like that. Anders Lee, the team captains. Anders Lee, Matthew Barzal, right? The team's leaders, Matt Martin, the team leaders, they need to get off to quick starts. They need to play well. They need to get off to quick starts. What I'm noticing a lot here is the Islanders are getting off to slow starts. They're finding themselves in holes early in the game, and they've had to find themselves climb back a ton. So they need to get off to a quick start. They need Matthew Barzal. They need Anders Lee. They need Matt Martin to perform early and continue to perform throughout the game. What I'm noticing is they're getting off to slow starts, and they're trying to make too many of these late game comebacks. When you're down by 3 goals with 5 minutes left, that's just not really that easy to do. You need to start off to these fast starts. That's what they need to do. I give them the win. There's been a lot of positives come out of the past 2 games. Or not the last game, but the last game before that. They were in it. They just couldn't hang on. So the Islanders have to be better. They have to be better in order to win. Yankees obviously play today, 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm excited for that game. Yankees continuing to, show a little bit of a sign of hope. There was a time there where I was thinking no playoffs, and now you're sitting here at 5 games above 500 being like, okay, playoffs will probably happen, but all depends on where our seeding is. And this is a big series because we would like to finish second. And we're not out of winning the pennant, but didn't help us, losing, I think, every game but one against the Tampa Bay Rays. So they dominated us this season. Should be a lot of fun to watch tonight's game. Football is on Thursday. Yankees also. Football is on Thursday. Browns-Bengals action. Yankees, Blue Jays today. Week 1 is officially in the books. And then Week 2 starts up in just 2 days. And I was talking to somebody yesterday about this. Right, so you know how, right, Thursday night games, not a lot of people like the Thursday night games. Coaches, players, you ask them. Quick turnaround. This year especially, because you have to arrive a day early. So teams have to get there on a Wednesday. That means this Browns and this Bengals both played on Sunday. They had 2 days to practice this week. They had yesterday and today, and then tomorrow's a travel day. Isn't that crazy? 2 days to game plan, and tomorrow's a travel day. The one thing that benefits is then you have a little bit of an extended week off. You have this week off, right? You have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday will probably be off, and then you start fresh on Monday again. But, yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's kind of odd, these teams only have about 2 days of practice, and they gotta go out there and play. Especially 2 teams that are coming off a loss. It should be fun. I think this game's gonna be close, and obviously Yankees play today. Yankees need a win today. Gonna be big. Sports are back on. Sports are in the full swing, people. Sports are in the full swing. It's great to have it back on. And then, obviously, Week 2 comes up. It's good to get some baseball news in here. I know, I mean, every day I talk about baseball on this pod because the last topic is usually the Yankees and stuff. But, the main topics have been football. And that's kind of just being because Thursday was about the Thursday night games and stuff. Friday was all the game picks. Then yesterday was about week 1 and the rest, and all the Sunday games, the Jets and all that stuff, and my fantasy and stuff. Today was the Monday night games and it's Steve Cohen, and tomorrow I might talk about football again, but then Thursday will be football again. So you're talking Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, 4 out of the 5 days of the week I'm talking about football. So Monday I have more Tuesday I have more flexibility, because I can at least fit in a topic. Usually Monday I'll probably just be football. It'll be about talking about fantasy than the rest of the week 1 games. Or whatever those week games. So, a lot of fun. So, Yankees tonight. Should be a lot of fun to watch that game. Yankees, Blue Jays, we need this series win. This will be big if we can get this win. Definitely be getting Yankees fans' hopes back up to possibly finish second again and get a pretty good seed into the playoffs. So, that would be good. So go Yankees, all that good stuff. Another full day of sports on today. Yankees obviously had their final day off yesterday of the season, I'm pretty sure. So it's a full-on race to the finish now for the New York Yankees. So should be a lot of fun to watch. Stay tuned for the podcast. I'll have all that news coming up here. So with all that being said, go Yankees. Should be a lot of fun to watch the game. And, that's what I got for the podcast today. So, I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.